So, if you remember at the start of the market flow section, we spoke about setting up your trading view and we spoke about color themes as well. Now, in there, I showed you how to set up your workstation and also how to actually make some color themes and save them as templates so that you can go back to them, change your perspective on the market by changing the colors of your charts. Now, this video, we're talking about new perspectives, and I'm just going to show you a few tips for if you're feeling stuck with your currency pairs. Now, we spoke about refining as well. And if you've refined your watch list, I mean, some traders choose to actually use everything to trade, a kind of jack of all trades. However, I do prefer refining, and I do think refining can be very beneficial. So, if you've refined your watch list, there are going to be weeks or days where you can't find a trade, where there's nothing really obvious to you, and you might need a little bit more clarity. Now, the best thing to do in these times is to actually just not trade. You don't need to always trade. If there isn't a trade present, it's better to just stay out of the market and preserve your money. However, sometimes getting a new perspective on the market can actually give you a beneficial outlook and a new outlook, and actually give you a little bit more clarity on the market that maybe you hadn't seen before. So this video, we are going to talk about how you can actually get those new perspectives if you're feeling a little bit stuck, or you just want to see a conflicting opinion to make sure that your trade is actually on point. So why is it important to get fresh perspectives? Well, first of all, maybe you're stuck with your currency pairs and you can't really find anything. Second of all, maybe you're not stuck, you do have a trade idea, but you want to make sure that it's the best trade idea you could find. And to do this, it's important and it's beneficial to actually have a look at some conflicting opinions. So let's say you are looking to sell the market, look for reasons why it would be a buy, okay? And that's going to actually help you to filter your trades. If you can find out, right, I want to sell this market, but is there reasons to buy this market? If you find that there is reasons to buy this market, maybe it's going to put you off selling it a little bit. And now, obviously, putting yourself off your trades isn't always the best thing to do, but it can be very beneficial to actually improve your accuracy rate. Because if you're looking at the good and the bad side of the trade rather than just seeing what you want to see, it's going to help you to filter and only take the very best trades. You may avoid a few losses by doing this. So, first of all, we're just going to recap again on the color themes. Now, good way to get a fresh perspective of the market is to simply neutralize your chart. So if you're trading with two colors, what can be great to do is just neutralize it. Just turn the chart black. All right. If you turn the chart black, that is going to cut out the red and green psychology, or whatever colors it is you're using, and allow you to focus simply on the structure and the price. So this is one way to get a good new perspective on the market. Perhaps you're focusing too much right now on a bullish candle or a bearish candle. If you just turn it all black, it's going to put your focus on the structure and distract you a little bit less from the overall flow and direction of the market, how the highs and lows are reacting. You won't be focusing on those green and red candles. So this is a really good way to actually get a fresh perspective on the market. Now, something also to mention while we're talking about these color themes, I've noticed myself is, say you have a couple losses, or you're on a bit of a losing streak, it can be good to completely switch up your chart. So let's say you're normally using a light color theme on your chart, hit a couple losses, feeling a little bit stressed, maybe feeling a little bit less confident. A whole new perspective, such as switching your charts to dark and starting again from scratch with your analysis, can actually be very beneficial. Now, this may not be something that helps you too much, but I do find this. If I'm in a slow phase or I do take a losing streak, I'll switch my charts up completely, and it just gives me a fresh view. Now, yeah, of course, I'm looking at the same information, but psychologically, this can have an effect. It feels like a fresh start, a new view on the market. So that's something to consider as well. More psychology side. It's not really going to help you to see the market in a different light, to be honest, but it will help you with the psychology if you're having a hard time and you just feel like you want a fresh rerun. So color themes are going to be useful. The neutral is the big one, really, just cutting the colors out of the chart and allowing you to just focus on the flow. So that's one way to get a new perspective of the market. Now, here is a interesting tip, an interesting thing to actually look at and something to consider when you're trading is flipping the chart. Now, sometimes we'll miss an opportunity because we're looking for shorts. But if we were looking at the market in the other way, so if we were looking for longs, something might become a little bit more obvious to us. All right. Now, I always find accumulation is easier to spot for myself. Now, I can spot them both, and you may be able to as well. But I do find that accumulation stands out to me more so than distribution. All right. We spoke about accumulation and distribution schematics, where we have consolidation, spring, sign of strength, and then the rally, or distribution, where we have sign of weakness. No, we have consolidation, spring, sign of weakness, and then the rally. All right. I'll just plot those out real quick. So as you can see, we've got distribution plotted out here, which I just drew one real quick. Of course, this comes at the end of a buying move. Then we have consolidation, spring, sign of weakness, retest, sell. And accumulation is the other way around, where we have a downside move, consolidation, spring, sign of strength, and then the upside move. Okay. Now, to me, even though they are the same thing, it may not be the same for you. You may not see this different at all. I actually find accumulation easier to spot on a chart than distribution. It stands out to me more. I've traded it more. And for that reason, I actually prefer accumulation schematics and will often trade them more than I trade distribution. Now, you may also feel the same way. Perhaps you spot accumulation more so than distribution. Perhaps you spot distribution more so than accumulation. Now, obviously, they're flipped. So what you can actually go ahead and do is flip the chart, all right? This may not be beneficial to you. However, it may be. Now, we're looking for invert scale, okay? And if you click invert scale, that is going to flip the whole chart upside down, as you can see. Very important that you don't get confused with this, because if you do get confused with this, well, then you are likely to cause yourself some issues. You might end up buying something that's actually a sell. As you'll notice, the whole scale flips over, the whole chart flips over. So now this looks bullish, but really it's bearish. And if you see, if we move the index up, the price gets lower on the right-hand scale there. So as we go up, we get lower towards 1.750, right? So make sure if you do this, that you don't trade the wrong way. But inverting the scale can give you a fresh outlook on the market. Now, for example, what you might see here as just a ranging market. I'm just going to clear these. No, I'll leave them there for now. What you may see here is just a ranging market. May not stand out to you as anything that's going to move. However, if you were to flip the scale, you may notice, okay, we're uptrending. We've formed a new high here. We're coming down into a demand zone, which is obviously a supply zone. But a fresh outlook on the market can give you a lot more clarity, all right? Personally, I do take a lot of short trades, probably take more short trades, and I'm more profitable on my short trades than my long trades, to be honest, because it's what I know the best. But I actually do find it's easier to identify a market that's actually bullish, right? I can identify opportunities easier in a bullish market than I can in a bearish one. So flipping the chart like this for me allows me to get a look at this as if it's bullish. Now I could notice, all right, we're in an uptrend. We've formed higher highs, higher lows. We've got this big demand zone here. We've seen a retest into it, and then what we've actually seen is this structure shift, okay? So we've seen the structure there give way to the upside. We could be tapping into this demand zone as well, so we may very well have a long opportunity here. Now, obviously, it's not a long opportunity. It is a flipped chart, so you want to flip that back, but you may now have that idea of a supply zone, retest, break of structure, retest, which you may not have seen before. Now, you could have seen that. It's different for everyone, but if you are like me and you find it easier to identify opportunities one way than the other, this could definitely be beneficial for you. So this is just a few ways to get a new perspective of the market. I'm going to go ahead and find an accumulation or distribution schematic. I'm going to show you what it is that I mean in terms of actually finding those opportunities by flipping the chart. Because personally, I do think it can be beneficial. Some of you may think it's absolute nonsense and it makes loads of sense to just keep it as it is. But for some of you who may find it a little bit easier to identify things one way, such as with a bullish bias or such as with a bearish bias, it can be very beneficial to do this as long as you make sure you don't get confused and accidentally buy on an upside down chart. So for example's sake, let's imagine you're looking at the Euro Aussie dollar chart here. We're on a 10-minute chart. You're looking for a day trade. You're seeing how the market is reacting. You're not entirely sure where it's going to go. We can see we've had this leg down. We're now consolidating down in these lows. Now, to some people, this may be an obvious accumulation and shift of structure, but to others who potentially are better suited to actually identifying the short trades and viewing the market from a downside view, it could be beneficial for you to actually flip the chart. Perhaps you identify distribution schematics easier than you identify accumulation, such as I do. So if we actually look at this now, you'll see we've had this bullish move, which has topped out, formed up here a distribution schematic, all right? And maybe, just maybe, now this is obviously going to be different for everyone, so this may not be too beneficial for everyone, but to some people, this could be a nice way to actually identify a move. So maybe on the long side of things, you don't really see much, but when you flip it over, you're going to see a bullish movement, which ends with these two higher lows here. which is then broken, formed a lower low, and then come up and formed a lower high. So this is obviously an accumulation schematic completing, and well, distribution in this matter. But then you would think, all right, maybe we've got an opportunity to actually sell the market. So if we flip the chart back to how it should be, this becomes a buying opportunity. And sure, for a lot of people, this could have been obvious from the start, maybe. But honestly, I do see flipping the market often gives me a fresh perspective of the market and shows me, new opportunities that I hadn't presented. You just always, and I cannot stress this enough, have to make sure you remembered you flipped your chart and make sure that you're actually trading in line with it. Beneficial for that, actually, if you flip the chart and you're using a normal color scheme, you are going to notice that the red and green candles are the wrong way around. All right. So the red candles going up, the green candles are going down. That's going to stop you from making those mistakes. If you're on a black chart, it can get a little bit more confusing. So from here, then, let's say you found the selling opportunity. All right, distribution complete. Now that would have been a brilliant buying opportunity coming out of the lows here on Euro Aussie that you may not have spotted on this normal chart. Okay, so these are just a few new perspectives. Remember, personally, I think the color schemes are the best, making the neutral chart come into play, focusing on the structure highs and lows. It takes your mind off the psychology of red and green candles and puts you onto the market flow, the market structure, the candlestick formations, and overall how the market is reacting to itself. So that's it, really. The flipping the chart, each to their own. Some people might love that idea, some people might hate that idea. It depends what it comes down to for you. But obviously, there are many ways you can view the market, many ways you can get fresh perspectives. So just make sure you're utilizing them inside of your trading so that you get the best results that you can. So that is all for this video, and we are coming close to the end of this Advancing Your Forex section. The main pointers of this section were just to give you a new outlook on things, show you a few additional confluences that you can add onto your chart, like Fibonacci, moving averages, and most of all, to talk in depth about that liquidity that we spoke about earlier, so that you've got a good understanding of how all of that works. So what we're going to do in the next video is actually look at formulating a perfect trade. And what I'm going to do is actually incorporate everything that we've learned so far, all of the processes things from last section, now paired with the Fibonacci, the moving averages, the liquidity, and all of those other things. And of course, we may even look at some new perspectives by flipping the chart or switching up our colors to focus more on the flow. So I'll see you over in the next video. Hopefully you find it very beneficial. I hope you've enjoyed the course so far. We are now coming close to the end of the technical section. Until, of course, some new bonus chapters are uploaded in the future. But by now, I'm hoping and thinking everyone should have a pretty solid idea of how to analyze the market and how to trade it successfully. So, of course, I'm always available if you want to message me with any questions or your feedback on the course and on your learning so far. Always happy to hear it. Seen a lot of people progress, and I'd love to see more as well. So feel free to contact me if you've got any questions or feedback on the course. Highly appreciated, but we're not done yet. We've got a lot more to get through in terms of building a trading plan and also having a look at some live training sessions as well. So I will see you over in the next video when we look at formulating the perfect trade.